TNT's run of 5 races coverage is over. Their first year in this new deal, which includes Amazon Prime and, of course, Fox, to kick off the season. TNT put a lot of focus in the in-season challenge tournament, which saw Ty Gibbs defeat the underdog. The Cinderella story came to an end. Ty Dillon, second place, but I thought it was a cool gesture that Ty Gibbs was willing to share some of the money with Ty Dillon for a charity of his choice. Tanner, thoughts on TNT, especially compared to Fox and Prime this year?
Oh, Joe, I'm so glad you asked. I have a lot of thoughts. So let's start with the comparison to the other two providers that have already broadcasted this season. Um, I would certainly place them a shade above Fox. I think that Fox just doesn't have any energy, doesn't have any life to their broadcasts, and they are constantly missing shots or doing a side quest with the cameras when there is action on the racetrack more often than you'd really like. I felt that Prime did a great job at practically everything. The only thing that I felt that Prime could improve upon was getting more driver interviews that finished in the top 10 after the race. I felt that I want to say it was the 600 where Eric Jones had a fantastic finish and a great run all evening. Didn't get interviewed. You know what? No, it was Nashville. But regardless, that was still during their slate, and they still really whiffed on that one, in my opinion. Now, as far as TNT themselves, I saw a lot of Foxisms that I really didn't like. Um, this whole in-season tournament deal, I felt it was good, like as a concept, but it was executed poorly by both the series themselves by scheduling Atlanta to be the starter. God knows what reason why. Following it up with a series of tracks that include, I want to say, 2 road courses. Like, it's just silly. Um, and TNT themselves kind of bungled it. Now, granted, I feel like they tried their best. They really tried their best to try to do a good job covering this. They even had 5 entire alternative broadcasts dedicated to Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds keeping up with the drivers that are still in the tournament to make sure fans were up to date, whether you were watching that on Prime or True TV. But I'm going to completely toss the in-season tournament stuff to the side and just focus on exactly what I saw. And man, even today, the camera people were not really doing their jobs too great at times. I just feel like because we haven't been to the Indy Oval very much in the last few years, you have a lot of modern camera people that probably haven't shot this racetrack very much that are, getting their feet wet covering it. And I just felt like there were a lot of angles today and a lot of shots that didn't fully capture the action. Another pet peeve of mine that I have that they constantly did in the TNT slate was at the end of a stage, they would have the stage winner cross the finish line, and then as there is still active racing for position on the track coming to the green and white checkers, they just follow the leader and then do a little close-up of the crew chief. You couldn't do that 10 seconds later when the rest of the cars cross the line. Just seems silly. Not only that, they did a big promo in the middle of stage 3. I think after Logano's tire blew out, I think they sent in this NBC promo during green flag action on the track when there were battles for position. What are we doing? Not only that, they had the same problem that Prime did where they would miss out on talking to drivers that finished in the top 10, top 5. I mean, I feel like we got 30 to 35 minutes into the post-race program before we even heard from the second place finisher. That's absurd and ridiculous. I feel like more often than not, we could probably get the second place driver's thoughts in before the winner even gets out of the car. I just feel like so often the broadcast partners that NASCAR has just drops the ball on common sense stuff like that, that it's kind of baffling, to be honest with you. Like, they're paying all this money to cover the sport and they do it so clunkily that it's just impossible to ignore. So I feel that TNT, of the three that we've seen thus far, is easily second, but I feel like I'm only giving them a lot of leeway because they're a first year network after being, I want to say, 12 years off since 2014's TV deal. And at the end of the day, I feel like going forward, TNT does have a really solid cast of characters on their staff. And I feel like they'll take any criticisms that they receive, seriously and try to work harder going forward. But man, even the booth, which was the exact same with this set of broadcasters as the Prime group, even they weren't as good, I felt like at times. And I don't know if that's like a behind the scenes people that work at Prime versus TNT kind of thing. I don't know. But like even last week when Joey Logano moved Ross Chastain out of the way in the middle of the race, they were like, "Oh, what's that about?" And it's like, do you all not remember 2 weeks ago when Ross Chastain put Joey Logano in the tires on a restart late in the race and Joey said he's going to get him back? Like, do you all really not remember that? That's what people on the back end, behind the scenes, should be making sure that the talent is aware of. Like, a lot of things happened with TNT that I feel like with Prime, they didn't really make the same mistakes. So it was kind of jarring to see them make those kind of errors when, again, we'd already seen those three people be better in a different setting. So, yeah, I enjoyed most of TNT's coverage. I just feel like they don't do a whole lot of crossing T's and dotting I's very well just yet. But again, for a first year broadcaster for the first time in over a decade, I'm trying to give them a little bit of slack and some constructive criticism going forward.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think the one main issue, or I guess we're not acknowledging, is that Amazon Prime set the bar way too high for everyone, and I think we're going to be disappointed regardless of what happens. And I think I worked in television a year, give or take, and I'm not going to say I have any idea of what I'm talking about. But producing, there's a lot that goes into it. I was more of a multimedia journalist and stuff, but I wasn't a producer. But seeing what they're able to do, it clearly stems from in-house issues. I don't know if it's you're getting used to it, because granted, with motorsports, it's a lot different. You got so many different cameras that you're constantly looking at a screen like this, a bigger screen, and you got to point to camera 1, then 7, and 12. So granted, I think there's, like I said, pointing at the whiteboard you guys can't see, do better, be better. I think it was a decent start for TNT, and I think one thing it's hard to fathom is that they had a lot of the same people from Prime, and then it's like you saw a legitimate fall off. But still, Fox, I will thank life that the Fox crew that called the ARCA race at IRP and called the truck race. I am so thankful that they weren't the same crew that would call the Xfinity or Cup race today, because just that's the issue over there, I think, in my personal opinion. Nothing against them. It's just the excitement level is just not there for anything, I feel. But for TNT, I think they're easily a solid 2. I think most of us can agree that it's Prime's up off the screen here. TNT's probably here, and then Fox is probably, I'm up on the second floor of my house. Fox is probably down in my living room somewhere in terms of what we see product. And I know there's a comment too, which we'll touch on. Yeah, you got to give, Fox has been doing this a lot longer, and TNT, it seems like they've figured out. Maybe Fox got a little too comfortable. So now I'm worried NBC is going to get a little too comfortable with USA and USA Network, obviously, NBC Sports. But thankfully, Lee Diffie's back, and I cannot be even more excited to hear Lee Diffie again. And one of my biggest regrets was being at Watkins Glen last year not being able to hear Lee Diffie's call live on television when he had Chris Buescher and Shane Van Gisbergen. So that's all I got to say about that. But yeah, and also I wanted Ty Gibbs. It's crazy, and just to touch on the in-season tournament really quickly. Great. I love the idea of it. Definitely hated the way it started at Atlanta, and then you had road courses in between. It just did not seem like the smartest thing to do, but since of the partnership with TNT and those were the races they were allotted, that's why it happened like that. So I wonder for next year's deals what's going to happen. We're going to have 4 or 5 networks that cover NASCAR. If you count like Fox Sports and those affiliates, at least 6. So it's going to be interesting to see. But it's Ty Gibbs. Congratulations to him. $1 million is a lot different to the Gibbs Racing organization than it is to Colleague Racing, who is rumored to be the next contender for Dodge. Maybe Catherine Light can go over there. All right. But so for that, Ty Dillon's a lovable guy in the garage from what I've heard. Most of the guys like him, what he's able to do. He's a hard-nosed worker. You could say he's more blue-collared, right, than the Richard Childress comments. Though that's a whole other conversation. We're just being a hard-working guy. Ty Dillon will do anything for a sponsor, so I always have to point that out. Working on that side of things is Ty Dillon's great. And yeah, congratulations to him almost winning it. Congratulations to Ty Gibbs getting it done. I don't know if the ratings would have been better if we saw like Chase Elliott against someone, but I think their lack of focus on the event in that specific thing was due to the fact that Ty Dillon was literally in 25th or worse this entire race, and Ty Gibbs had a couple moments inside the top 10, and that was it. It was kind of, I'm going to say it was really the worst ending to the in-season tournament, where there was like no action at all. There was no battling. It was just Ty Gibbs probably was ahead of Ty Dillon for all 168 laps of the race.